Welcome to Damon Does the 6 Questions, where the same 6 questions can tell a unique story. I am your host, Damon, father of 2, husband of 1, and leader of this here Demodcast. This Bronx-born brother is a director, writer, and producer. Some call him a dream maker. Whether he's at Sundance Film Festival at 17, starting a film program, or mentoring, this man is like his trip to Russia, one of a kind. Please give it up for Jamal Hodge.
Yeah. I feel like I'm running into the stadium right now, brother.
That's what I'm talking about.
Got me hyped. I'm glad to be here, Damon, man. Thank you for having me, man.
Thank you for taking time out to talk to a perfect stranger. I appreciate it.
It's all good, man. It's all good, man.
I was looking through some of the awards, and one of the ones that stuck out to me, and it made me giggle, and I didn't know if you had any story behind this, but one of the awards you won for best screenplay for Mourning Meal, I want to say it was the Boobs and Blood Festival.
Yeah. It's Boobs and Blood. Yeah.
Do people just start just pulling these out of the hat, or are the organizers just have a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor? Like,
it's based around a convention, and a lot of the people, all the judges are women, and also they donate a lot of money to like breast cancer. So I guess they're them because they do horror, and then they got a lot of like hot girls there, and then all the judges are women, and then also like, it's to do with breast cancer. They just felt like, little tongue in cheek, call it Boobs and Blood. I mean, it definitely gets the attention. I mean, it got mine.
It got mine too. Yeah. I gush almost over all my guests, so just I probably should have warned you that too. You were at the Sundance Film Festival. You had a film at the Sundance Film Festival at 17 years old.
Yeah, but I didn't really know what Sundance was, and I was like really creeped out at the time because I was like, there's like no black people. I was like, this is the whitest place I've ever been, man. It was just nothing but white snow and white people. I was like, people could probably see me for miles out here. Like, I was so black that I'm like, they probably could see me from like 10 miles away. All jokes aside, it was for a documentary called An African American in Russia that I had done. But I went to Siberia and did a documentary. We didn't know what the hell we were doing on some level, but people really received the film, and it did pretty well.
That is wild. So how did you get banished to Siberia?
John Alpert, who's the head of DCTV, he was like, hey, you guys want to be in an exchange program? We'll have some kids from Tomsk, Siberia. It's the biggest city in Siberia. They'll come to New York, and you guys will go over there for the summer. So it was like, what? Once we said yeah, then getting closer to the date, he was like, oh, have your parents sign this. It's like, oh, if you die, it's not our fault. And then we all went over there, man, and it was a crazy experience. This was like on the tail end of the transition when Russia was transitioning into a somewhat of a democracy or capitalism. It's going from socialism to capitalism. We went over there and we did a documentary about various aspects of Russian living. And, that was my first time traveling out of the country. And my first time actually on a plane was a 13 plus hour flight to Moscow, and then another 4-hour flight to Siberia. But it was an insane experience. People were treating me kind of like I was an alien out there, in a good way. They were really, really polite. I was eating at people's houses. Families were coming over. They just never met a black person before. It was crazy. I had a lot of good times. And then I heard that there was this one black dude out there, and I was, people were saying like, hey, yeah, he comes out at night. And I was just like, what the fuck? It's like finding Bigfoot. Like, what the hell?
Was he a boogeyman?
And then I went and I found him. He was chilling. It was like the only black dude out there. It was hilarious. Yeah, and it was being great. People really liked it. We were staying in this summer camp out there as well. So it was my first encounter with an outhouse. There was a lot of first encounters out there, actually. And, I realized, because at the time, all I knew was like, I really didn't like white people like that. And I went to Russia, and the white people I was with, they didn't really like them like that either at first. And then I was hanging out and stuff, and then I learned out there that, they had stuff in, sometimes even worse than the brothers and sisters I knew over here. So I understood that oppression and poverty was a universal problem. And it created a lot of empathy in me for other people, just people that were different from me. It just made me more want to look into like understanding the individual stories rather than having like a blanket point of view on others. And that kind of changed my life and set me on a whole completely different path. Yeah, it was really a pivotal trip in my life,
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. And two black guys in Russia. That's unbelievable. Yeah, it was probably like looking for Bigfoot or the Loch Ness monster or something like that.
Yeah. It was funny looking for that, brother. It was fun.
So, are you ready to answer the 6 questions?
I'm here. I'm down. I'm ready.
All right. Question number 1. When did you know you wanted to be a filmmaker?
Well, I didn't know that I wanted to be a filmmaker per se, but I always knew a filmmaker is just a lens for a bigger thing, right? A more pure thing. And that pure thing is a storyteller. And that could take, it could take many forms, as a novelist, as a actor, just storyteller. So I knew I wanted to be a storyteller when I was 5 years old. I've always loved stories. I understood from a very young age that stories were a type of food that people couldn't live without. Like people don't really need my stories, but they need stories to survive, literally. Almost every form of communication and is a story. Even a scientific theory is a story until you prove it. It's a story that gets proven by trial and error and experimentation, if you think about it. But the story always comes first. So I always knew I wanted to be a storyteller. I got something published when I was in the 5th grade, an urban kind of Cinderella story. And, I had a hard childhood when I was a kid. So, I was even homeless at a certain point, but writing kind of took me to other worlds and reading took me to other worlds. So once I got to 15, when I went to a job at DCTV, and they had a 2-year extensive film training program, they said, "Oh, we're going to give you a stipend." I was like, "Oh shit." Writing is great, but people are lazy. So they want to more just watch things and absorb things. So I was like, okay, this is a quicker way to get people to digest your stories. So I fell in love with that. And I love the showmanship of cinema. So around 16, 17 years old, I kind of really committed to the craft of filmmaking. Rather than just being a writer, I became more of a filmmaker. So that's what I know.
You said you got it was like an urban Cinderella story. Have you been published since then?
Well, I did. I've been published a lot as a poet, especially in the last couple of years. Obviously Linda Addison, the great Linda Addison is my mentor. So I've been really getting published a lot recently in the last 2 years. But between that, there was a large gap where it was more like me writing screenplays because I was more fully immersed in the film side of things, than books. But next year, I intend to release a full-on poetry novel and a science fiction novel. So I'm excited about that.
And you heard it here first. Or maybe second. I'm not sure. Question number 2. What do you wish you had known when you first started out?
I wish I would have known that things that are external are finite and things that are internal are infinite. It's not so much about what you accomplish. When I first started this business, I wanted to accomplish all these big things. And it's not really so much about what you accomplish. It's about who you accomplish it with and who you accomplish it for. If I would have known that in the beginning, I would have made a lot of different choices as an artist. and with the people that I surrounded myself with and with my motivations. Because even if you succeed, if you're doing things for the wrong reason, there's no satisfaction in it. It's a Pyrrhic victory. Now that I know that, I've been rectifying that situation. And now, I'm surrounded by people where, like, sink or swim, the loyalty, the love, the respect, and the commitment is there. So it's easy to struggle to be in the trenches with people like that, where people who you want to see their kids have enough money to go to college, to the best colleges, who you just want good things for, and they want good things for you. It's easy to face anything or any challenge where you're doing things for the right reasons or with the right people. So that's what I wish I would have known.
A lot of that reminds me of something that I heard you say. Let me make sure I got it right. Take someone else's dream and make it your own.
Yes, sir. Because, like, if you just have a dream on its own, it's isolated and it can't breathe, It's kind of like this whole trying to own everything for yourself, like we're taught, I feel like, in this culture, is very destructive. And actually, the people that are very successful, none of them operate that way. From the outside looking in, it looks that way. But being in it, most of the really successful families in the world, the individuals lead with their family name. But then they tell you that it's just up to you by yourself to be an individual. But almost nobody who's successful is just an individual. They all are part of a larger group. They might be the face of that group or representative of that group. But their success makes other people successful. You got to open your hand first if you want somebody to open theirs. Take on the other. If you believe in somebody and you believe in somebody else's dream, you take on their dream and they'll take on yours. And, from there, you become kind of unstoppable. You form this thing called a mastermind. A mastermind is like, you can't see the back of your head, but your person beside you can see the back of your head and you can see the back of their head. So you can protect each other from failure, and create opportunities. When your dream is somebody else's dream, they're looking for opportunities for you even while you're sleeping, even when you're not around. So the road is always expanding in ways that you could have never conceive of because you're you, and you can't be in two places at once or three places at once. Yeah, that's what I mean by that.
You said something interesting. Why do you think that the idea of rugged individualism is so prominent? Like, why do you believe people, at least in America, believe that so strongly?
Well, because we're a consumer culture and family prevents lack, right?
Right.
Sales, you have to create lack in a person. So it's much easier to create lack in an individual than it is in a group. So to manipulate people, to get people to buy, to keep on buying, you need them to feel like they're by themselves and it's just them. So that's what I think it is. I think it's really just sales. It makes a better consumer if the person feels like they're by themselves and that getting somewhere is going to make them happy. Because a lot of times we find our happiness in being of service to others. That's actually the easiest way to be happy. So I say if anybody's ever depressed, and there's a lot of depression as an artist, a lot of times you're alone, you feel that loneliness more than a lot of people. Serve others. If you serve others, it gets you out of that individualism mindset. I mean, you definitely need to have some of that, you know what I mean? And you definitely have that pride and ego and all that stuff to make it in this industry because you're confronted with so much rejection and so much doubt and so much uncertainty. To live this life, you need those things. But at the same time, you kind of have to understand that, you're just one person. It's about the group. It's about the people that you touch in your life. It's about all that stuff. If you just keep focused on your own personal lack and you're just by yourself, it just kind of makes it really hard to ever be happy with what you're doing or to ever feel complete or to even succeed. Because everybody who I know that succeeded, every star that they're like athletes. Like they have a vocal coach, an agent, a lawyer, a manager, I think it's a whole team of people around this person. This individual is an amalgamation of an entire group, an entire team. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done, we really think about it, nobody's ever done anything by themselves.
Right.
Even more so in our society. We didn't invent our own language. We didn't create our own food. We didn't make our own clothes. We didn't build our own homes. You know what I'm saying? We all live and thrive off each other. So it's kind of like, I think that's a much healthier perspective to have than this whole thing, oh yeah, I did this, it was just me or something like that. No, you know, everybody is contributing, you know what I'm saying? I can't make, as a director, I can't make a movie by myself. I can't act and shoot the camera, shoot myself and stuff. I need people.
Question number 3. What's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
My favorite hometown restaurant is my kitchen.
Okay.
But if I was to say what's my favorite meal when I go out, I definitely like Bobby Van's a lot. And you know, to get the ribeye with mash and the spinach and usually like either a glass of red or a Heineken. It's like my go-to combination.
So what do you like to cook?
Well, I like to cook dead animals. Animals that died so I can live. I consume them. But, you know, I like, you know, just regular things, man. Ribs, you know, steak, chicken, even though I don't fry it almost ever. But, you know, lately I've been doing a lot of like fruit bowls. I go like a day without eating any sort of meat. I'm trying to get to 3 days. And I do like a fish day as well. Things are evolving, you know, trying to stay on this planet, on this spaceship a little while longer.
And keep the body moving as best as it can.
Yeah. You know, I want to make sure when I die, the maggots have something good to eat. You know what I mean?
Make sure that you're nice and nutritious.
Yeah, I want to be nutritious when I die.
Question number 4. What are you curious about?
Well, the more accurate question would be, why am I not curious about? You know, something that really always touched me about Einstein, who was kind of an asshole, which is kind of funny, but it makes sense. Genius and being an asshole. Genius and being an asshole is usually synonymous. Like
Yeah.
Einstein said that curiosity is more important than intelligence. Other people have said that it's actually the main factor of intelligence, you know, is curiosity. I really, really agree with that because I feel like I'm a person that's always learning. I have a mandate where I have to learn something new every day. So I'm always on things like Masterclass or on YouTube. I've learned that intelligence is only valuable in its application. And in today's day and age where you can have like the internet supplement your knowledge, the main thing is actually how you combine knowledge and how you apply knowledge is what's actually the most important part of it. It's no longer just ingesting information like that anymore, you know? So for me, I'm curious about everything, man. I am a big astronomy nut, very curious about just how planets operate and, you know, the universe, because I feel like artists, we're kind of like internal astronauts. Like astronauts, they deal with the external, and artists, we deal with the internal. So we're kind of like astronauts in our own way. So I'm always fascinated by actual like astronauts because they are some of the bravest and the best amongst us as human beings. And I'm very curious about actors, actually. I'm fascinated by actors. I'm fascinated by people who, I don't know, it's almost like a form of benevolent prostitution as an actor. Because they give up more than their bodies to something. The prostitute only gives their body, but these people are giving up, they're loaning their emotions, their spirit, their perspectives. They give so much, which is why in their everyday life people are like, oh, that person's the actor, but they give so much to everyone that they have to hold on to something for themselves. But I'm just fascinated by the actors' minds, how they think about life, where did the characters go when the role is over, how long do they live with the character afterwards, things like that. I'm just fascinated by actors. Obviously, you know, like most men, you know, I'm fascinated just by women, by the opposite sex, and you know, they're so similar yet so different from us. I'm fascinated by the origins of pain and suffering, and like the connection between pain and meaning. A lot of my films are kind of like about that. We focus so much of our attention on what we don't want rather than creating what we do want, you know? You know, it's just why, you know, how we spend our attention so much on the negative than the positive, and how meaning, like, if something hurts, we value it more. Like, if you give somebody the same truth without them feeling like they had to work for it, or there was no struggle, no pain involved, they don't value it. And why that is, like, why do we say we want comfort but then crave struggle? You know, that dichotomy, that contrast is very interesting to me. But yeah, I'm curious about a lot of things, brother.
I can tell.
Yeah, I get excited about that question.
It's my favorite question, because there's no telling what somebody's going to say. And I've had some wacky, now I don't want to say wacky answers, but I've had some answers that just have blown me away. And I always learn that's probably the question I learned the most from personally.
Yeah. And I don't even know, on the dark note, it's just like, I'm also curious about how, like, the nature of violence, right? Because we always see violence as a negative, but really life only exists because violence does. And death only exists because violence does. It's kind of like violence is the midpoint between life and death. It's the glue that combines them, you know, in a sense. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like violence like the unnatural version of it, like just robbing somebody or wars or things like that. Just to live, you only are alive because you've consumed other living things. Everything around you that you see has consumed other living things. That's why it exists. And then one day you too will be consumed, and those things will be consumed, and it will go on and on and on. It's like this giant recycling machine that we live in, where forms constantly coalesce and consume other forms and become other forms and then coalesce. And it's just a very fascinating thing, like, in the world. Like, everything that's alive in this world has consumed other living things to be alive, and will one day in fact be consumed as well. So that fascinates me too. I'm very curious about that as well. You know, I have dark interests, I guess.
Question number 5. Is there anything I should have asked but didn't?
No, I think people are sick of hearing me talking. I don't know. I mean, no. I think you know, you've asked some deep, good questions, man. I can't think of anything. I don't know anything that somebody would want to ask my weird ass. I'm a strange dude, so.
Say again?
I'm a strange dude. I don't know why somebody would want to ask me. You know what I'm saying? I don't got no answers, man. All I could share is questions. All I got is questions. You know, I got no answer to nobody, man.
Okay, well, you talk about you being a weird guy. What's the most mundane thing about you?
I value peace more than excitement, I would say. That would be the easiest way to put it. I will always choose peace over excitement. I would say I would rather have a peaceful experience than an exciting experience. That's the best way I can put it. I'd rather be around people that make my life peaceful than be around people that make my life exciting, because I feel like I get enough excitement from my career and for my ambition. So,
did this come to you later as an adult, or is this something that's you've known for a while?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, a part of it is that, well, you know, some of my friends say that I get into modes where I just hate everybody. And on some level, I do hate everybody. Sometimes, just people in general. I just don't like people sometimes.
That's
The
fair.
people I like as a mass, as a group, you know, people are just, to me, mostly terrible. That's just my opinion. But individuals are beautiful, you know, and life is ironically to me also about other people, right? Life is about people. Like, I don't know, it's like this weird contradiction. And I felt like I've always been struggling with that internally. And what I realized after fighting so much wars in my life and so much battles and having no peace ever is that the most valuable thing in life is peace. And the most valuable people in life are the people that help you facilitate an environment of peace, because really only in peace can you truly be your best self, you know?
Yeah.
Because you're a different person depending on the environment that you're in. So the goal is to create an environment where it's not to change who you are, it's to create an environment that helps you facilitate being your best self so that you can be more for other people, if that makes any sense. So, you know, if I have a peaceful environment, I can be a better writer. If I'm a better writer, my words can affect and inspire more people around the world.
Question number 6. If you could create a new holiday, what would it commemorate?
I'm waiting for the day where, my people, Black people in America, will have mental and spiritual freedom, true freedom. Our bodies are free, and we're trying to get our finances and our mental free. And I would love a day that will commemorate that freedom when that day comes. So that's what I would like.
A friend of mine calls it, actually he was a guest on here, Miguel Hampton from episode 2, told me one time there's a difference between freedom and independence. And
yes. Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, and I reserve the right to be wrong, period. It seems like you're talking about more independence than freedom. Is that accurate or no?
No. That's 100% accurate. You know, we're so dependent on a system that doesn't give a shit about us that is borderline insane. And I got to give it up to, our sisters and stuff like that, because a lot of ways they're really leading the charge in this modern time. But so many people are aware of this, and there's so many people taking action. You don't hear about them in the mainstream, but thank God for social media. That's done more to help us see our situation and confront our situation and make a choice, because it's not our fault, but it's our responsibility to save ourselves. And a lot of people are just out there doing that and making it happen. So I feel like it's something that's definitely growing. I think the awareness is there, and the infrastructure is being built. We just got to keep the faith and onward and upward.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thank you, man, for having me, man. It was dope.
Man, that was a great interview. And thank you once again for joining me on Damon Does. And remember, leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast app so more people can join the conversation. And next week, we have a first. Well, another first. Well, it's kind of a second, really. Because next week, I have a returning guest for the first time. I'm going to ask 6 different questions. I may have another guest that in a voice that you may or may not remember. Join us as we chat with Nicole Kurtz. So until next time, see it, hear it, speak it,